When I'm with you, it feels all my problems go away. There's no issue, I wish your love forever will stay. Now I miss you, I just wanna be in your arms today. God bless you for coming into my life. I know it's been a while since I've seen your face. You got me counting on the days. I wanna see you smile, they make our grace. When you're not around, there's an empty space. I know it's been a while since I've seen your face. You got me counting on the days. I wanna see you smile, they make our grace. When you're not around, there's an empty space. Ooh, falling, falling. Oh baby, don't you hear me?
Several more, but these are the two big ones. We deliver training, we deliver certifications, and the person who created Scrum is with us, is leading the organization. When we talk about professional Scrum, we talk about doing a Scrum as professional. It may sound weird, but it's not. Because there is a lot of amateur Scrum. There's a lot of mechanical Scrum out there. Actually, if you go out there in Europe, North America, all around the world, when people talk about Agile, they talk about Scrum. Because this is the Agile they know. Scrum is the framework most widely used around the world, by far. There is some other frameworks, there's Kanban out there, there's scaling frameworks, there is XP, there is practices. Scrum is Agile. Okay? So, I'm a professional Scrum trainer, a Scrum tutor. Which means that I deliver certification courses. I work for big, large organizations around the world. Rob Harding mentioned me in the previous talk because we work together with Capital One, transforming Capital One Bank UK. And currently I live in Berlin. I work for, I like startups, I love startups. These are places where you can change things, you can actually change the world, and you can make changes that will be implemented tomorrow. And I deliver certification trainings around the world. If you have any interest in my profile, you can search for me in Google, and you will get my blog, my personal profile, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. You know my Twitter over there. It was in the previous slide. So, in Scrum.org, we have a pyramid of learning. So, in the base of the pyramid, we got Professional Scrum Foundations. This is a 2-day training course where you learn Scrum by doing Scrum, and by developing a product. This is the cool thing about learning the Scrum with Professional Scrum Foundations, is that you learn by doing a real product in a team. Then we got Professional Scrum Product Owner, oriented to product owner, product managers, Professional Scrum Master. This is the most famous course we have. And then we have Professional Scrum Developers for people that develop software. You don't need to be a techie to do Scrum. So let's talk about Scrum. We're going to talk this today. We have an hour or something. We're going to learn the Scrum. We're going to learn the fundamentals of the Scrum. How many of you who know something about Scrum? Can you raise your hand? Okay, you can help me. Okay, so let's start with an exercise then to understand complexity. You got a nice book here called Organized for Complexity by Niels. Niels is in the conference. He's a really, really good speaker. I also brought another books so you can take a look at them. Please don't take them away with you because these are my books. They're signed by my friends. Not because I have the love to them, but sometimes I go to conference and say, oh, my friend signed a book for me and now it's gone. So, let's start with an exercise. You are the new Scrum Master, okay, for a team that tells you about the terrible temperature in the room. Bob, from the Central Building Services, needs to program the heating, air conditioning, venting, and blinks for the day. George, you work with the team on assembling a list with all variables that influence the room temperature to program the climate system up front. No adjustments are possible during the day. The team wants a constant 22 degrees temperature. Which variables do you have to take into account to program the air conditioning for the whole day, up front in the morning? Bob only works in the morning. He will program whatever you tell here. So please take 5 minutes, discuss in your table, come with a list of variables. How will you do this? How will you solve this problem? Go ahead.
At first, that we have to talk about the structure of the room
The infrastructure of the room.
and the activity that is performed in the room.
The activity like.
The activity
The activity that is
performed in the room. And thirdly, we have to consider the temperature outside to
outside temperature. Right? Thank you. Anything else?
Okay, we're also looking at the size of the room
The size of the room.
and then
Perfect.
and then the dress of the person, like how the person dresses.
How the people is,
And the,
what the people is wearing.
yeah, whether it's suit or shirt.
So I would want the person to define what the terrible temperature is. Is it too hot or too cold?
Okay. But we don't know if it's going to be too cold or too hot, because we have to tell Bob in the morning. We need to plan up front.
Then now we'll consider the size of the room.
The size of the room. In your first answer, we will have to adapt to see if it's too cold and adapt. Anything else? Any other variables? The kind of items in the room. Time. The time of the day.
People, number of people.
Number of people in the room.
Working at the point in time.
The point in time.
The number of people working in the room at the point in time. So there's a need to reduce them. And making sure that the work is more.
We can broaden it also to the season of the year.
Season of the year.
Winter season and summer.
Okay. Anything else? So, this is a complex situation. There is several variables. Some of them, as you say, are in the list. Some of them are not. But don't you believe that it will be easier if we will be able to just see if it's too hot or too cold, and we could adapt? Yes, the temperature of the room. Oh, it's 1 o'clock. It's too hot. Just put the AC on. It's too cold. Put the heater on the evening. Temperature of a room is such a complex problem. Why, when we develop products, we make plans up front that last for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? No plan survives the first contact with implementation. But we're still trying to develop products up front. This is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. So we believe in 3 things. In this case, there is a simple solution. We can ignore the variables and use an empirical process. So Scrum is an empirical process, which means that it's based on 3 pillars. We believe in 3 things. Transparency, making the situation transparent. Is the room too hot or is it too cold? Inspection, being able to inspect. Are my co-worker comfortable with this temperature or not? And adaptation. Can we adapt the temperature of the room using the AC or the heaters? That's the foundation of Scrum, empirical process. When we develop software, we are in a complex situation. If we make screws in a factory, we always do the same. If we build a building, we are doing something that is slightly different. So we are in the complicated area. When we develop software or adjust the temperature in a room, we are in a complex situation where variables are so much that we cannot control them. So we need a process that reduces that complexity. If we're beyond that, we're in the chaos. Okay? So developing software, developing products is in the complex area. Of course, there is different management styles for every situation. So for a simple situation, we just need to use best practices. You're making screws. You do the screws this way, you're supposed to produce 9,000 screws per hour. That's it. You don't need to communicate, you don't need to do anything else. The problem is that the characteristics of the complex situation doesn't match what we try to do. Because this is what we try to do in modern companies. We try to build papers, to write papers, to write documents that explain how you need to work. But the reality is that when you're developing a product, you don't know what you have to do. So you need to communicate a lot, you need to adapt a lot. Do you have any experience in people or companies that have failed miserably in delivering a product just because it didn't interest at all to customers? I've seen many, many, many cases. Because they just didn't listen to customers. Oh, I know better. Yesterday I was doing an interview for Joy TV, and they were asking me about this exact question. Is that in West Africa we have many big companies that don't care about customers. What answer do you have for them? Well, I have an answer. The same answer I had for the companies in Europe, in North America, or everywhere else in the world. Is that this company is going to fail one day. You don't know when, but it's going to fail. It's going to fail miserably. It may take 10 years, it may take 5. And the position of the company will be taken over by a new company that is able to listen to customers. So keep that in mind. Beyond Scrum, beyond what you learn today, you need to listen to what your customers want. You need to have a process that helps you succeed. So when we use the same management style that we need for the complex situation, then we may succeed. So we need to use the right process for the right problem. Common processes are predictive. What I was telling you about is that you write an extensive document, a business plan. How many of you know or have written a business plan? Ever? 1, 2, 3 hands. So business plan is something that expresses what you're gonna do. When I talk to VCs in venture capitalists in Europe, and I've worked with a couple of them, they say, we want entrepreneurs to write a business plan so we can throw it to the bin. Yeah. We want them to show that they have persistence to at least write the business plan, but we cannot do anything with the business plan. It's paper. You open your computer, you go to Excel, you just write some numbers, and it doesn't work. And it doesn't work. And then what happens in companies, if you're employees in a company, is that your boss will come and say, oh, what failed? Or this failed because of you. No, this failed because this is a lie. Because I'm lying to myself. This is as easy. So we have 3 pillars in Scrum: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. And we have values that cover those pillars. One is courage, transparency, trust. We have 5 values in Scrum that describe how we intended to do, how we intended to work. So there's no point in trying to do Scrum if you're not following the values of Scrum. And this is where professional Scrum comes. You can go today, and I will recommend to do so later today, to scrumguides.org and download the Scrum Guide. It's for free. You can download the last version. The framework, the whole framework is for free. You don't need to attend a course or a training to know Scrum. Everything that I'm going to say today will make sense if you have the theory in front of you. Okay? But I don't want to talk about the roles or the artifacts without talking first about the pillars and the values. This is the definition of agility, one of them. There's several. So The definition of agility is the ability to be lean, to change fast, to respond to change, to be flexible, to innovate. You're an agile company if you're innovating, if you're flexible. If you call yourself agile, but you are not able to make a quick decision or something, then you're not agile. The Scrum police is not going to come and tell you, you're not agile. No. The result will be even worse. The result will be that your company will struggle and eventually will fail. This is the definition of Scrum. It's a framework to help people address complex problems. Again, if you make these groups, if you have something that is very simple, don't use Scrum. There is no point in using Scrum. Think about the temperature problem. Do I have a problem that is similar to the problem? Then I should use Scrum or any other Agile framework. What I was saying before, that if you don't deliver what your customer wants, you're not delivering value, you're just burning money. This expresses the three legs of the empirical process control: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. We all know what is going on in transparency. How many of you have the experience of transparency? Of knowing what is going on in your school, in your companies? Yeah, we have a few. How many of you have ever had the feeling that I don't really know what's going on? Someone comes, someone tells me, I do this, do that, do whatever. Why is that for? What's happening? Then you don't need to do that anymore, and you feel lost. And then you don't understand what's happening. The problem with transparency is that you need to assume the consequences of transparency. And the consequences of transparency is that someone may not be doing his job or her job properly. And that happens a lot with bosses. They will tell you, you do this, it's your fault, because they don't want to assume that what those his or hers. The inspection is being able to inspect the work. I suppose, how many of you have gone to university, college, something like that? Yeah? How many of you have started semester and have thought, yeah, this semester I'm going to work for the day one. I'm going to work on the stuff on day one. I'm going to go to all my classes, I'm going to prepare all my homework, and I'm going to work every day. Okay? Cool. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that says that, goes to sleep, and wakes up and says, oh my God, what happened? It's the end of the semester. Where have I been? Who am I? So, if my parents ask me, what you've been doing? I will say, well, I've been going to classes, and it's all very interesting and everything, and the reality is that I'm not being transparent, and they're not able to, and the reality is that I'm not doing anything. I'm partying a lot, but that's a different story. So the inspection is the ability to inspect the work as we go. And the adaptation is, it's completely okay to change our direction. We are transparent, we inspect, and we change our direction as we need to. Scrum is a foundation for agility. We talk about three things. Scrum, a framework, a way of doing things. Agile, a philosophy. And agility, something tangible. You are agile or not. Agility, you bring agility to your business. You bring agility to your life. Foundation of Scrum, fundamental of Scrum. We deliver frequently. How are you able to maintain transparency and inspection? By delivering software or product every 1 or 2 weeks. So you do something, you plan you're going to do, and then you deliver at the end of these 2 weeks. Instead of going big and trying to deliver something in 6 months or 1 year. We deliver every few weeks, so we can inspect and adapt. Some people come to my courses and they say, I cannot deliver anything in 2 weeks. And then we do a 2-day course where they not deliver once, they deliver 4 times. So sometimes we say, we cannot deliver. Yes, you can, but you need to go in small chunks. You cannot eat an elephant at once. Resides in the complex domain. Product development resides in the complex domain. The best fit for complexity is the empirical process, because we ignore the variables. Temperature, problem. We just ignore all the variables and we inspect and adapt as we go. And there's 3 legs: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. This is important. Transparency requires trust and courage. And this is something that I spent years, and companies that I work for spend millions in trying to teach people. That to be transparent, you need to have trust and courage. Because it requires a lot of trust and courage to go to your boss and say to him, I haven't done this, I'm not able to deliver. Or for your boss to come to you and say, I cannot do this for you, we cannot deliver. Some books that you may read. So the first one is not a book, it's a paper. You can download it on the internet. This is the origins of Scrum, the new product development game. So this is the original paper that gave birth to 2-day Scrum. The radical management, the leader's guide to radical management, a leader's framework for decision making. This is a Harvard Business Review article. So this is the leader's guide to radical management. Is a very, very, very good guide. If you ever going to be change makers, you're going to lead people, you should read this book. Because you get much more from people by understanding them, trying to develop them, than by giving people orders. So the Scrum framework. We have a product owner. The product owner is responsible for delivering value. It's the person that takes care of the what. What we're gonna do next. Okay? The development team. Development team may be a group of developers or maybe a group of people working in a product, and these are considered as a single role. They have the power to make decisions, to self-organize, to self-direct, to self-manage, to basically decide how they want to do what the product owner wants. Okay? And the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master manages the Scrum process. Is the person responsible to make sure that Scrum works in the company. It's the person that people go and ask, oh, Scrum Master, can you tell me how we can do this? How we can improve? Scrum Master is just a name. I'm a Scrum Master. I'm a master of nothing. I have no people. I manage no people. I just take care of the process. The product owner is not a boss. The product owner manages what is going to be done next, and that the value is delivered, and the development team takes care of the how. Think about a ship, okay? A yacht, a sailboat. We have people working around, we have a captain, and we have someone, usually that is beyond the captain, that gives instructions to the captain, and then the captain translates those instructions, okay? Everyone has a role, and it's important to have the 3 roles in a Scrum process. And these 3 roles are taken by different people. Because there's a lot of friction when you as a development team say, we cannot do this, and the product owner says, yes, you have to do this. So a sprint. The sprint is a time box. The sprint is a period where we plan, develop, and deliver software at the end, or a product. Usual sprints lengths take 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but important thing in Scrum, days. You deliver every 30 days or less. If you deliver in more than 30 days, you are not doing Scrum. If you don't have the 3 roles, you are not doing Scrum. Does that mean that you're doing something wrong? No, you're doing other things. That's fine. Works for you? Okay. And a sprint is an agreement within the development team to be able to change, to be flexible. Within the development team to not have someone coming and telling you, oh, you have to change what you're doing today. Okay, why don't you give me a period of 2 weeks so I can do some work, I can deliver the work, and I don't have to change what I'm doing every single day. And for clients, a lot of flexibility. So if there is ever an organization that groups all the people working on IT, like a college or something, a fraternity, call it whatever, I think that its mantra will be, this is not what I wanted. This is what the client says more in IT. This is not what I wanted. Prefer a client to tell me, this is not what I wanted in 2 weeks, rather than a client telling me, this is not what I wanted in 6 months. Because then the client and me, we will have waste a lot of time and money and frustration. So, roles, artifacts, and events in action. We have 3 roles: the product owner, the development team, the Scrum Master. We have 3 artifacts. A product backlog. How does a product backlog look like? Like this. This is a product backlog. At the start of the session, we made a product backlog of what you wanted. Today, you are my product owners. You put this on the product backlog, okay? A sprint backlog. Sprint backlog is what you take to do in a single sprint. In our case, today we have a single sprint that was going to last an hour, and it's going to last now 45 minutes. This is our sprint backlog. And an increment. An increment is something that you deliver at the end of a sprint. What will I have delivered for you at the end of this talk? Some learning, some ideas to take home, some new concepts. This is my increment for you. There is 5 events in Scrum. The sprint, period of time that lasts 1, 2, 3, maximum 4 weeks. We have a sprint planning that takes place at the start of the sprint, where you sit down and say, what am I going to do this sprint? We had our sprint planning at the start of the session, when you took 5 minutes to put all of that there. Okay? We have our daily Scrum. We meet every day, 15 minutes, to check and answer 3 questions. The 3 questions are, what I did yesterday towards the sprint goal, what I'm going to do today towards the sprint goal, and do I have any impediments to get that done? We have a sprint review. Our sprint review will be probably your feedback at the end of the session. And we have a retrospective where we try to improve our process. So this is how things work the last 2 weeks. Let's check out, do we have to change anything? Do we have to change the length of the sprint planning? Do we have to talk more, to talk less? What do we have to do? So we retrospect and adapt again. So the sprint backlog consists of elements and how our sprint backlog could look like, or how it looks when I deliver courses. We pick some of these things, we cover them, we deliver them, we make sure that people is clear about them, and then we go forward. You don't have an idea of all of them, of what you're going to do with all of them. You have to emerge as you go for 2 weeks, and to sit down with daily Scrum and say, oh, we have to do this work for this, and I didn't take that in account. We need to reply. We update. We have a board where we update everything. Our daily Scrum is a 15 minutes daily meeting. Some people call it daily stand-up. That is a practice for another set of practices called extreme programming. It's acceptable if you call it daily stand-up because people do it as stand-up. Because if you call for a meeting on a table, people will arrive 10 minutes late, they will sit down, they will open their computers, and then you will have a meeting of an hour. This is a quick meeting. what I did yesterday, what I'm going to do today, do I have any impediments or not? Put them in a graph and check how many of them do you have left at the end of the day. That is called a sprint party. 3 feedback loops in Scrum. The first one is a sprint. We finish, we have feedback, we start again. We have a retrospective, we finish, we retrospect, we inspect and adapt, we start again. And we have the daily Scrum. Morning, we start, we talk for 15 minutes, we replan. It's all based on feedback loops. That's the reason that Scrum is two circles embedded within each other. So, takeaways about the Scrum framework. Scrum is the way of implementing the empiricism we talked before, transparency, inspection, and adaptation, into software development or product development. Every Scrum role has a clear accountability, and that is very important. You cannot have people who has 2 hats. Oh, today I'm going to be the developer, tomorrow I'm going to be the boss. All the artifacts are meant to be and deserve to serve transparency. Okay? And all of the events serve inspection, adaptation, and transparency. So just reading the Scrum guide that I told you about, you can download it. If you put the Scrum guide in Google, you can download it for free. Don't pay for the Scrum guide because it's for free and we maintain it for free. Okay? The Scrum A Pocket Guide. This book is from Junta, good friend. He shepherds the professional Scrum series at Scrum.org, and Agile Project Management with Scrum by Ken Shoba, which is one of the creators of Scrum. So time to close. Wait a second. How do I stand out in an already crowded and competitive world? And what is real professionalism? I don't know if we covered this or not. If the person who wrote this post want to ask any more questions, feel free. Now is the time for questions. Okay. Any questions about this? No idea, anything new? You think this is covered? Yeah. Cool. To understand how to apply Scrum professionally, I can help. I mean, I'll be around, happy to have a discussion about this. Understanding Scrum as a framework. You have a better understanding of Scrum as a framework. How to apply Scrum in my day-to-day activities. Probably this is still not really clear. Transforming the learning in my business. Okay. How to handle very small teams? That's a very good question. Scrum teams. Scrum teams are formed by 3 to 9 people. So whomever asks this question should check out the Scrum. So these are not small teams. These are the teams in Scrum. If you have a team of 15 people using Scrum, you should have 2 teams. If you have 24 people doing Scrum, you should have 3 teams. You have each team is 3 to 9 people, plus the Scrum Master and Product Owner. How to handle final polish, small tweaks. Person that wrote this. Oh, that was you.
That was me. How to, like, when you're nearing like a release of a product, and you have like a list of 1,000 little things you want to do. How do you handle that? Do you say, okay, I'm really going to prioritize them as user stories, or I just throw them at the team, like Peter on that team, just pick up what you can do?
You don't have to use user stories on your product backlog. You can use product backlog items.
Yeah.
You can prioritize those things on your product backlog. That will help a lot of transparency. These things are because the increment was not really done. Then you should apply it with the fix and done.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, ideas I want to know about Scrum, the impact of Scrum in business, and limitation, I think, of Scrum. Scrum has limitations. Scrum doesn't work for everything. There's other Agile frameworks. Sometimes you cannot apply Scrum. That's completely okay. We're fine with that. It's not the solution for anything. Scrum is not a silver bullet. Do you know the concept of silver bullet? So the concept of silver bullet is that it's not something that you're gonna use to improve everything. Scrum is very good at showing the problems at your business. It's very, very good at that. And showing and raising them every 2 weeks or every week, every sprint. And that is really important. But you need to tackle those problems. Some companies call me and say, oh, we're having problems with Scrum. Well, no, you're not having problems with Scrum. You have other problems. These are not about Scrum. It's about other things. So, who is an Agile professional? Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure if I'm an Agile professional. Okay. What are some of the developing Agile, don't get it, the person that wrote it. You wanna? Okay, that's very, very easy to answer. It's like, check your business, check what you can use, download the guide, read it, attend a course if you want, and anything that we haven't covered, it's like, I expected this to be a demo. No? Okay, let's go to the closing. So, feedback. Wait a second. Feedback. You can give feedback to Scrum.org feedback. You can take the Scrum Open Assessment for free in the Scrum.org website. You will definitely learn a lot. You can repeat as many times as you want. You'll learn a lot after reading the Scrum Guide. Very recommended. Okay. If you look for Scrum.org Open Assessment on Google, you will get there as well. And you can connect with the Scrum.org community on the forums, on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. There is the blog, the Scrum.org blog, that explains a lot of Scrum, and Scrum Pulse, which is a monthly webcast that trainers do to improve the Scrum. And now this is it. Thank you. Keep calm and Scrum on. Thank you very much.